Now all the love within my heart is flowing like the Amazon. Cause in the wild I was getting drunk with something I don't know. Oh mama, oh yeah. The queen of love promised me that I'll be fine by tomorrow. Oh mama, oh yeah.
Greetings. Greetings. Thank you for joining us back after the break. Welcome to the session 10 of DeW 8.0. Now I call upon Dr. Rakesh Jha from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering to welcome our speaker. Sir? So please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, students. Dear colleague, students and participants, good afternoon all in all. Welcome to these sessions. The session's title is Present and Future Perspective of 3D Printed Artificial Joints for Aging Society. This is Dr. Jha from Department of Electronics and Communication. First of all, I would like to thank the coordinator of this workshop to provide the opportunity for session chair of such an important topics. Today, we have Professor Susumi, Professor Hokai School of Commerce, Japan. Good afternoon, ma'am. Namaste. On behalf of Indian Institute of Information Technology, Jabalpur, it is my privilege and honor to introduce Professor Susumi. Currently, Professor Susumi is professor at Hokai School of Commerce, Japan. Namaste, ma'am. Professor Susumi has done PhD from Osaka University, Osaka School of International Public and Policy, also known as OSIPP. She has completed doctoral program between 2002 to 2005. In 2017-18, visiting the scholar Northwestern University. 2011-12, professor at Hokai School of Commerce. Between 2016-2011, associate professor, Hokai School of Commerce. With these brief introductions, I would like to invite Professor Susumi to deliver her lecture. Please, ma'am. Please unmute to Professor Susumi, please. Host, please give the...
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, good.
No.
So I would like to express my heart gratitude from opportunity to participate in IIE TDMJ Design Workshop 8.0 today. I have ever given a lecture in December 2014. At that time, director of this institute was Professor Ojar, and I truly admire the Indian Institute of Information Design and Manufacturing, Jabalpur. Any talented person can be the top of the organization. Even for women, it's been over 7 years, or it passed 7 years. So can I show my PowerPoint by myself? Yeah, is it okay? Is it?
It's visible.
Yes. Can you see that?
Ma'am, please put it on full screen.
Yes.
Press F5.
Yes. No. May I show my
Yes, thank you.
PowerPoint by myself? Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. So you are introduced me, and therefore I don't have to show the comment of my profile, but my specialty is not technology, but public policy. Therefore, so I encourage the entrepreneur. So today, my presentation is not so technical talent, but tomorrow, Nakashima, Teijin Nakashima will show up this session and introduce precise technology. So I am at the college in charge of human resource and trends establishment of medical related business. Therefore, I may be here invited. And I was very surprised at 2017 when interview time in Sapporo Consulate General to get my visa in the United States. At that time, so the consular asked me, what kind of things are you going to study or research? Then I answered, medical device. Then his answer was, oh, business. But here in Japan is not business in medical area. Therefore, I was extremely shocked. And then I will continuously do this research in political view. And 2014 workshop, I talked about medical device like those in pictures. I really wanted to talk more about artificial heart on right side. And this is because discovery of the Professor Yamazaki of the Department of Japanese Surgery, Women's Medical University, and his patients are very weak to die. Therefore, he would like to relieve his patient's life. Then his family home sold his huge stock of watchmaker Seiko and established a company to develop a Japan-made artificial assist heart. The development technology for implanting artificial object in patient's body is expected to be completed as quickly as possible in patient's regard. However, the other than the patient, it becomes a topic when the artificial object does not work well or some trouble happens. However, these efforts of doctors and engineers, Japanese have been developed a lot of medical devices. So far, do you understand? Or can you hear me? Okay. In Japan, it is up.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So it's very difficult. So worldwide conference, I joined the first time, not face-to-face. I already joined the worldwide conference, but only the listener. Therefore, I'm very afraid of speaking difficulty or something. Anyway, so world is a different consideration, and Japan is a welfare, and it is up to government order to decide where the doctors can use the developed equipment for medical purpose. Approval of medical using new technologies as medical devices can be life-threatening for patients. And if something goes wrong, it could be held uncountable by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, which has confirmed its safety and effectiveness. Most Japanese are non-religious. For highly invasive treatment, devices such as artificial joints, today's topic, when something goes wrong, he uses the media to take public opinion on his side. So patients arguing or something. Therefore, government agencies have given strict approval. Since the Japanese system has a principle of equality, it is not possible to offer high payments. The difference between rich and poor and the difference in life are very different. So in other words, the medical care related system in Japan was created by people from government officers who did not have a business development in mind. In other words, the difference between rich and poor and difference between life is different or separated, and the medical care related system in Japan was created by people from government and who did not have development in mind. It's the problem in Japan. This figure is the data from Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, which explains the medical insurance system in Japan. It is compulsory insurance, and the collection source is different, but the inference is the same. And that means the people cannot refuse to pay for it as a insurance. And basically, you can get same treatment everywhere in Japan for the same amount. The government decides each treatment as medical price, and 30% treatment cost is paid by patient, and 70% is covered by health insurance. In addition, elderly people living only on pensions who solely on pension allowed to pay 10% the medical treatment fee, which means, so if your medical device successful export to Japan, it's spreaded all over Japan. It's very profitable. Once you get approval, then your medical device is spreaded all the Japan. Do you understand? It's interesting. So good business market. Anyway, so this is the graph published by Cabinet Office of Japan regarding the age of people. The left shows the situation in Japan aging. Japan is aging, so red one, and by far compared to Western countries. So other countries, for example, USA is the very low ratio of aging. So graph on the right shows that Japan is currently aging by far in Asia. The whole body weakness with aging. Therefore, the damage for medical predicted to be increased. Older women around me often have lower back and knee pain. Yes, back and knee pain. So today's topic is artificial joints. it's a much more popular topic than the artificial heart. I mentioned earlier the artificial heart, but medical joints are very, very popular in Japan. Many female friends complain of joint pain in lower back and knees. If custom-made artificial joints that fit your body become widespread, so you will want something that fits your body, especially in your implant. Even it is expensive, you will pay. So in Japan, it is recommended to talk, sorry. It is recommended to take a walk every day to avoid such fragile bones. I was also encouraged by a doctor to exercise and went to fitness club. The fitness club was always full of old female until before COVID-19. This is the environment in Japan. Do you understand? Sorry, so no reaction, and I don't know, but I will continuously do. And according to 3D printing, technology will change our manufacturing culture from the 2010s, when 3D print began to spread. Many people would have expected that they could be used for medical equipment. So we are very expecting, but it is not popular right now in Japan. So 3D is undergoing new development in areas such as space or automobile or malls as its parts and jewelry. However, for medical devices, artificial objects such as artificial joints and embedded in human bodies are most difficult to develop in relation to animal rejection or something. But maybe so small companies are developing now. So J3D will finally obtain medical device approval next month, the March, for the technology to make custom-made artificial hip joints using titanium powder. Do you know? Development is in progress, and since accurate information can be sent to the printing machine if there is no noise in the information technology, the order can be placed from anywhere. So, and the manufacturer who receives order and completes the product is the best near the patient. If it is a titanium joint, it is important to polish the titanium surface. It is a fusion of craftsmanship and advanced IT technology that Japan has cultivated. Sorry, now it is very strong earthquake in Japan.
Oh, ma'am, it's great.
Sorry, I'm very strained, but okay, it's now stopped.
Completely fine, ma'am.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, strong earthquake. Oh, this time I received a topic of joints that I was mostly interested in. So I immediately investigated the technology currently under development with Nakajima Medical and Kyocera. So do you know Kyocera in India? The founder is a well-known entrepreneur. He helped Japan Airlines rebuild its business without any fee while remaining in position of chairman of Kyocera. His ceramics manufacturing company, Kyocera, had already begun clinical application of hip bone developments by French doctor in 1970. The founder with the staff have developed what is needed for sales of world without considering profitability. So it has been on sale since 1980. They developed other material, zirconia, as a product with increased purity. In 2015, they developed bioceramics with enhanced strength and stability under the name of Azure. From this management style, I predicted that the Kyocera will developing tailor-made product by 3D printing. But according to their official announcement, the company, they have once tried in 3D, so three-dimensional for doctors' surgical model, but stopped. It was too costly. People who start a small company work hard to make prototypes regardless of cost. However, the company grows and contrary to the wish of the founder, the company develop new products in relation to cost. It can't be helped because everyone working in the organization has to get paid. It is okay, but this is the attitude of in Japan. So we have large companies here in Japan, and Toshiba right now and go into small company and divided into 4. Therefore, so now we are in Japan, big companies has standing crossroad. Anyway, so 3D artificial joint about joint. I will continuously present. So universities where you can repeat experiments with free ideas. In 2016, so 2016, a professor Niigata University wrote about 3D printers with tailor-made medical-related matter. He reported 3D CAD CAD data, and he reported that it was possible to expand the full-scale model from three-dimensional cancellous bone. The researcher published or pursued the mechanical portions of the bone by its mechanical test. In other words, the results of the research has come out. Furthermore, this slide is described here, J3D as a 3D metal processing company in Nagoya with titanium powder and custom-made titanium technology succeed. Yes, I already talked with making artificial hip joints collaborations with Nagoya City University. So custom-made hip prostheses supported to be approved for medical devices next month. J3D, this is the company's name, seem to have adopted printing machine from called EOS, made in Germany, unfortunately, not the Japan-made machine. So the medical adoption in 3D printing is now developing. And if you look at the manufacturers of artificial joints based on sales of Yano Research Institute, it is difficult to find a Japanese manufacturer. Teijin Nakashima Medical, as a Japan-based manufacturer, is only 2% in Japanese market, or I don't know, but it's published 2020. Therefore, now they are going up their market. Anyway, so at that time, Zimmer Biomet has a 37 share. This is clearly shows that the medical device used in Japanese market are US medical devices. But Zimmer, which boasts #1 sales, is this pie chart, is an American company that has repeatedly observed and merged specializing in finance. This is from Wikipedia, and for reference, here is a graph that tracks changes in structure of Zimmer Biomet, which announced 37% previous pie chart and clearly shows American medical devices are diverse. Next, you can see the second rank is Japan Striker. This is, Striker Japan is the joint company who imported from US medical device, Matsumoto medical device company, and also Stryker in the United States is the previous surgeon established company. So they established newly in Japan. So Kyocera announced they don't develop 3D, but already previous Japanese artificial joint market is the third rank. And their material called ceramics or something. Yes, azure also. And I will, I don't know here. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's very, sorry, it's not shown in Japan, but this is the moving part of the picture of difference.
Yes, ma'am, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, between Japan and the US startup formation. So Japanese company, if you'd like to do something their own technique, then they must spin off. This is the previous style, but now Japan is a not so large company, and as I said, Toshiba is divided into 4. Therefore, large company allowed the engineers or other designers, so in-house to develop something new. Then maybe so Japanese or also your Indian students can go to the Honda, and it's now automobile company, but next time I'm afraid. So I think I expect as a medical device company. Now that this is very similar to US style. So US style is so many person is a venture capital or something and startup, some small companies, and formation is moving, a lot of moving. This is the, so you will, with your own technology, you can act in the United States or also in India. You can collaborate other engineers together with establish small business or startups, but get fundings like such as Kyocera and Masayoshi Son here in Japan is the top IT president, but he also asked the angel as a Kyocera, Mr. Inamori, now the chairman. Anyway, so I'm very sorry. It is other chart or moving small round. So
It's perfectly fine, ma'am.
Yeah, investor or some other person, and therefore, so it's comparing with Japan and the USA. Anyway, sorry. Then this is again a chart graph. This is how much the artificial joint market composition by sale. So artificial hip joints was the 35% in Japan, and also knee joints 34%, and 29% artificial bone heads. This is so the three kinds of artificial bone is the main sales in Japan. So this is Teijin Nakashima's lineup, and you can listen or ask their manufacturing and also the circumstance in Japan. So therefore, I will omit this part. And according to this kind, you are unfortunate or sad, and Japan is so disappointing situation. But no, the other person reports are there is many manufacturers in Japan. Already 48.5% is the manufacturer in Japan in so distributing some Japan-made medical devices. Maybe so it's the way of sales. If you'd like to show like such as Teijin Nakashima Medical, you can supply your brand. But sometimes you can supply other brands, so they made in USA or FDA acquisition. You can also other brands name, but manufacturer or engineers are in Japan also. It is a talented person's matter. The subject is left, and designers are out in the world. However, it can be said this is so global, not the not separated. So Japan now many person from Japan oriented or origin, but got the Nobel Prize in the United States. It's a difference of style. Also, I considered device lag must be prevented. So I thought it's domestic security in healthcare. I pointed the danger of buying outdated devices as a high price. However, I was the only one who had this misgivings. So I understand somewhat by this pandemic, the coronavirus. It's a very good study, and so outdated devices not so outdated in regarding vaccine in Japan. Anyway, so the previous my understandings is maybe so made in Japan and domestic or something domestic is a very so safe or something. But now we are very behind, but we are good. We have a good culture. So engineers naturally naturally in their areas of expertise, and when faced with a new phase of technology, so many went to use it for something. It can be said medical device development in area always leaves room for development, unless all complexity of human beings as living things is clarified. About the gastro camera, endorsement, a joint research between Japan and the camera company, a doctor has created medical diagnostics here in Japan. So then they are invented CT, the machine. Now that this kind of large medical equipment, maybe the market is General Electrics or Siemens in Germany. And also it is a top main medical diagnostics equipment market maker. Toshiba is now already sold this mainstream medical device technology also together with their brand name to Canon. Then Canon in 1950, then they changed their name, not to Toshiba Medical, but Canon. Then they were developing other areas in the United States. I also used, or how can I say, checked my health care by Canon-made machine. And Canon, do you know that here in Japan, it's a printing company. Therefore, I predicted. So printer, they are very good at this kind of electronic with camera and very precise machine, but very cheap cost. Therefore, maybe they will secretly develop 3D printing machine of joint bones. I already searched for in the United States, San Francisco, but they don't. So it is a secret. Therefore, if there is anything developed, then maybe the market will spread. But actually, as a medical device, we are not direct customer, but surgeons or hospitals are the customers. Therefore, it is very difficult, and also this is a secretly developed. Sorry, therefore I couldn't do any good news, but Japan is a pretty attractive market because everyone has to have the same medical insurance. However, less invasive diagnostic equipment such as imaging equipment was purchased by many hospitals as soon as market approval was obtained. I play this kind of things comes once again in artificial joint market. Anyway, originally Japan dominated the market with low price and high quality in areas easily followed, although the market for treatment device due to aging in Japan has trying to reduce the cost. So government would like to reduce the cost of medical treatment, which has become high overall because we are aging. Therefore, even though Japanese medical care has technological capabilities in terms of financing and device lab, Japanese products are not readily available on the market. So means it is a chance to export in your company's medical device. In corona damage, I reviewed the restraining impact of Japanese medical system as a good thing. When I saw news an early corona disease victim died in the United States, I attributed this to medical disparity parity in the United States. So poor died earlier and any vaccine opportunity or something. But in Japan, there was a news, famous entertainers died quick succession and people wore masks and remained that the damage caused by invisible virus and thoroughly disinfected themselves. Other than hospitality business, people obediently obeyed the request for self-restraint every time it was reported that the hospital where they could see critical ill patients were full. Many impression in that this is a result of everyone's insurance. It's a good country here in Japan, where everyone is leaping an eye on satellites saying this is the perception that everyone receiving equal treatment in medical care with universal insurance. That is, forcing a mask is nothing to do with liberalism. So it's different from the US situation. This is Japanese culture, sorry. Then I want to convey to future designers and engineers is that innovation is born from a combination of technology and technology. And Japan is a good market for FDA or CE mark device. Therefore, hopeful for profitable Japanese market. Could you please this kind of idea in your mind when you produce something? And also make a property in your laboratory. So failures are the source of invention. You can make many failures in your university life and or laboratories life. And also Dr. Tanaka, in Nobel Prize winner in Japan, said talked about so he missed he had a failure to pick up different drug, and then he hit upon a new idea. So lots of opportunity is surrounding IIT DM Javanpur. So that's it. This is a conclusion today. I'm very sorry, poor comment, but 3D is for me now under development, and so it's very close to pharmaceutical approval in Japan. It's all for today. Thank you very much. And any questions, if you'd like to, then I will answer as possible as I can.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the very informative session. We have some questions from the audience.
I'll tell you the questions, ma'am. What is the lifespan of the 3D printed artificial joints?
Ask them to send the questions.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Questions will be
It's
sent.
howling or something.
What is the lifespan of the
Mhm.
printed artificial joints?
Lifestyle artificial joints is only, I heard, only 10 years. And if you got surgery for 50 years old, then you have to replace next artificial joint. But technology is expanding. It's not good for the patients, I think. But it's very, how can I say, scary matter for every patient, including me. Yes. So 10 years right now, or you can ask Nakashima Teijin tomorrow. Maybe so there are, I think if that titanium printer 3D machine is produced, then maybe it's time life. It's very strong material and very good material, but it's very hard. You have to polish the bones outside and body. Therefore, then we have accumulated Japanese automobile machines, any parts, many titanium, not the titanium, but the polish technology are accumulated in every Japanese small companies. Therefore, it is very suitable for artificial joint in made in Japan and made of titanium, then maybe Japanese small companies technology has many Japanese good company have a chance to polish it. Yes, sorry, long answer.
Screen sharing. Ma'am, you can stop screen sharing so we can see you.
Thank you.
The next
Thank you
question.
very much. Mhm.
We still have few questions, ma'am.
Mhm.
What are your views on the sustainability of artificial joints in the future? There might be products which would support mechanical strength of the limbs and they might not need any surgery.
Sorry,
I Should I repeat it, ma'am?
Sorry, it's very difficult to acquire. And could you please? Oh, okay. Can I see the chat?
Yes, ma'am. You can see the question.
Oh, okay, okay. Sustainability and artificial zones, as in future, there might be products which would support mechanical strength on limbs. Yes, and they might not need any surgery. Yes, yes. I already asked Teijin Nakashima the same thing, but any joint place is, how can I say, not strong artificial bones, but other, so you can see net, kind of net material. This is not any survival for human bodies. If you got aged, then you have to replace the new material. Therefore, joint is popular in Japan. Yes. Sorry. Is it? Do you understand my answer? Questions?
Next question.
Have that in the chat box.
Okay. What is the cost of 3D print joints in Japan? Yen. Wow. It's very difficult, but I was very surprised. So maybe by dollars, US dollars, $100 or something. So large, expensive surgery, but we have to pay 30%. And government or insurance pay for the other 70%. Also, the aged people 10%. Anyway, very, very high cost because it is not only for materials, but so each surgery has different things. And then Nakashima Teijin moved with other paint or mess or knives. So together with the surgery situation, and then the surgeon use their own parts. Therefore, it costs very, very high. But here, plain or normal people can get the surgery because only 10% they must pay. Therefore, so it is a very good opportunity for the medical device company. Sorry, could you please ask Nakashima tomorrow? Then if they accept, okay, they will answer. And I know, so each of them has a different price here in Japan. Therefore, it's a contradiction. As I said, it is said that fairness, but if one hospital said very good price, but the other high-end hospital offered very high price. And I don't know that the system is, and especially I forget to say, especially many too rich person, so they don't need to pay any insurance to 70%, or then he or she asked directly to doctor without medical insurance. And this is the, how can I say, not ruled in Japan. And but sometimes doctors for beauty can not under the organization or cooperation with doctors, but they independently acts as for the richest person in Japan. So maybe I already searched for Apollo Hospital in India, and at that time I was very shocked by the taxi driver's comment. so it's only for rich person, and we don't know this is that hospital or not or something. And then I understand. So in Japan, gradually that kind of things happen also. Sorry. Is it correct answer? Sorry.
Next question.
Yes, in India, the knee joints fold up to 90 degrees. How much does knee joints fold in Japan? Knee joints are, you can, so only this side. No, degree means, no, it's joint and it's, sometimes my friend, female friend, complained, oh, it's not flexible or something, but it's moving like natural human bodies. So is it so? Therefore, but it's difficult to stay on mat folded with legs. It's, yes, it is, but maybe you can also ask tomorrow Nakashima Medical, and maybe so the medical device progressed, and it is good, no problem for mat to sit down with holding legs. Is it okay? It's my answer. It's okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I have one last question for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Now we are also suffered from COVID-19 or new Omicron or something. But according to the media, we are very few death person, maybe 200 as far as Omicron or something. And also at the beginning, we are very scared of COVID-19, but we stay home whole day and long time, and also with masks. And then we are not suffered so severely in other countries. But I don't know the fact. It's according to media, and also the corona, Omicron is expanding in Japan, but we are now the top of the patients or got the virus taker, but now decreasing the Omicron, and then we are already, how can I say, healthy, not so affect COVID. Therefore, I don't know, it's because of the mask or I don't know, but we are, how can I say, we are very liberal country, but we are very strict to foreigners to visit here in Japan, and we are surrounded by sea, and then many foreigners checked us strongly, and we stopped inbound right now, or not now, but before a few weeks. Therefore, I don't know. So we are universal thoughts, but not the universal system, global system. Therefore, this is affected to Omicron or COVID-19. I think so. But I don't know the other impression of other person, and my opinion is different from my husband. Anyway.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Etsuko Susumi, for joining us once again in the DeW workshop. I would also like to thank the chairperson, Dr. Rakesh Jha. This session is now come to an end.
Thank you.
We will join back at 4 p.m. for the next session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
acting like a maniac and I don't know what's going on. Well, all the love that's in my heart is flowing like the Amazon. Cause in the wild I was getting drunk with something I don't know. Oh mama, oh yeah. The queen of love promised me that I'd be fine by tomorrow. Oh mama, oh yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're audible, sir.
Yeah. So should we start the session? I think it's already 4 p.m. Or we need to wait.
Yes, sir.
I think Professor Nobuhiro Yoda is also there. Professor Yoda.
Search in chat box.
Hello.
Professor Yoda, good evening. I'm Dr. Vishwajit Mukherjee. Are you there? Can we start the session?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let me first let me welcome you all to the design workshop DeW 8.0, which is the flagship event of IIITDM Jabalpur under under the Ministry of Education of Government of India and also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Government of Japan. Let me just first welcome Professor Yoda and introduce him. Dr. Nobuhiro Yoda is a senior assistant professor at Division of Advanced Prosthetic Dentistry, Tohoku University Hospital in Japan. He received undergraduate training at Tohoku University School of Dentistry, DDS 2003, and postgraduate education at Tohoku University Graduate School of Dentistry, PhD 2007. He joined at the Faculty of Engineering and Information Technologies at the University of Sydney as a visiting researcher from 2014 to 2016 and started some collaborative research regarding the dental biomechanics, bone remodeling simulation. He has also been working at Tohoku University Hospital as a dentist and certificated as a prosthodontic specialist and a dental implant specialist. So Professor Yoda, well, it's a pleasure to have you here for this design workshop DeW 8.0, and over to you for the session.
Okay. So thank you very much, Chairman, for your kind introduction. So can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Nobuhiro Yoda from Tohoku University, Japan. So first of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to the organizing committee for giving me this great opportunity. I'm very happy to have a lecture to you today. So can I share my screen first? So can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
All right, thank you. So yeah, as introduced, I'm a dentist and I usually work at University Hospital as a dentist. So maybe you can tell I'm wearing my white coat now today. And also I'm a researcher in the Faculty of Dentistry in the university. So today I'd like to talk about the topics of digital dentistry. So mainly from the view of clinical dentist. So let's get started. So firstly, please let me introduce myself briefly. I graduated from Tohoku University School of Dentistry, and I received a PhD from Tohoku University as well. And since then, I have been working at University Hospital as dentist. Also, I belong to Faculty of Dentistry as a researcher. And my main research topic is dental biomechanics and prosthodontics. So also, as introduced, from 2014 to 2016, I belonged to the University of Sydney in Australia as a visiting researcher. I started some collaboration research work there and got many great experiences. So now I'm a senior assistant professor at Tohoku University and University Hospital and vice director, Dental Implant Center. Anyway, so I'd like to introduce my city, Sendai, as well, briefly, sorry. And I don't think this Sendai is a famous city for the Indian people. So Sendai is located in the north of Tokyo. It takes about 1.5 hours by the express train called Shinkansen. So Sendai is a medium-sized local city in Japan. So about 1 million people are living here. And also the Tohoku, my university, Tohoku University is here in Sendai. Sendai city is called the city of forest. So that's because there are many trees in the town, center of the town. The lower right picture, this picture is one of the main street of Sendai city. However, when you leave the center of the city, you can find lots of nature. You can enjoy nature such as mountains, sea, and rivers, and you can enjoy outdoor camp, fishing, and skiing also. It's very convenient city in nice harmony with nature and town. Also, I'd like to talk about the Tohoku University. Let me introduce Tohoku University. Our university is the third oldest and third largest national university in Japan. And we have three major unique principles here. So research first, open doors, and practice-oriented research and education. So we are always thinking about the public connection between research, industry, and government. And Tohoku University has five major campuses in Sendai. Also, we have 10 undergraduate schools, 17 graduate schools, 3 professional graduate schools, 6 research institutes, and 17 department institutes. Also, it was about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, we have 18,000 students. So far, there are so many achievements developed from Tohoku University, especially from the engineering field. So PN diode laser, optical communication, flash memory, maybe you are using every day, and so on. They are all essential to current society. Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, I will start today's topic, today's lecture. So nowadays, same as so many medical and engineering fields, novel digital technologies have been applied in dental clinical practice. And it's rapidly expanding in the world. So for example, the image scanner, extraoral scanner, intraoral scanner, CAD/CAM system, and 3D printing, and so many image devices like computed tomography, CT, and MRI. They have been utilized in several dental practices every day. So now we can benefit from those innovation and development of digital technologies. We call such development digital dentistry, which means dental treatment employing digital technology. Okay, especially digital devices are applied to the produce some dental processes. So I will talk about this topic, mainly this topic. Especially digital technologies are rapidly progressing in several clinical dental practice as well as dental lab work. Okay, the oral scanning system and CAD/CAM devices are utilized in tooth restoration, including inlay, crown, and bridges. Also, imaging data and 3D printing become very, very important in the dental implant treatment, planning, and surgery, both. And those devices have also important role in the maxillofacial surgery and prosthodontics. I will talk about this topic the latter of the lecture. And also the orthodontic treatment. So in digital dentistry, the role of intraoral scanner and 3D printing are becoming very important. Okay, so in today's talk, among such many digital dentistry topics, I'd like to focus on the utilization of digital technologies in dental processes. Okay, impression taking, manufacturing of dental processes. And second topic, another important topic, I will explain the application of dental technologies, digital technologies to the maxillofacial reconstruction treatment, which is a relatively advanced dental treatment. Okay. So firstly, I will talk about utilization of digital technologies in dental processes, especially dental impression taking, manufacturing of dental processes. However, I heard most of the audience today are experts of engineering, not dentists. So therefore, I will briefly introduce the basics of the dental processes very briefly. So pictures are example of dental crown placement. Okay, for fabricating the crown, we dentists need to prepare the tooth, the appropriate shape, like this picture. It's like some cylinder shape. We prepare the teeth in the mouth, and then we take an impression including other dentitions, and dental technician makes a plaster cast model and produce the crown on the model. Finally, we deliver the crown to the patient's mouth, like these pictures. This is a crown treatment, okay? And this case is showing the example of the fixed bridges. So same as a crown case, we prepare the abutment teeth by grinding using some dental specific devices. Maybe most of people dislike this one. And anyway, all abutment teeth should be parallel in the bridge cases. Then the dental technician makes a fixed bridge in the dental lab. Finally, we dentist deliver the bridge to the patient's mouth like these pictures, okay? This is a fixed bridge cases. So in terms of removable partial denture, it's a little bit different from the crown and fixed bridge cases. In the case of mouth teeth missing, the patient would have a dental implant treatment or take a removable partial denture. Okay. The pictures are example of the removable partial dentures. The removable partial denture consists of artificial teeth and metallic frame and a pink colored artificial denture base. Okay. And as shown in this picture, the denture can fit in the upper and lower jaws, and the patient can bite natural occlusal conditions. The patient can mount and remove the denture by themselves. This is a removable denture case. If the patient loses all the teeth, they need the complete denture. Okay, patient lost all the teeth. Okay, it's relatively difficult to make a complete denture to perfectly fit on the mucosa. Okay, the appropriate marginal shape is complex marginal shapes. Denture base is very important to stabilize the denture in the mouth. Also, the fit condition normally depends on the impression technique, dental impression technique. Okay, this is a complete denture case. So here I'd like to summarize the 3 workflows for producing the such dental processes. Example of the crown. For the conventional workflow, firstly, we take impression, analog impression, and create a plaster model, cast model. Then we send the model to the dental lab, and dental technician makes a crown by the traditional lab work. And then dental lab sends the final crown to the clinic, and we deliver the crown to the patient mouth. So regarding the current digital workflow, same as a conventional workflow, we take an impression and make a plaster cast model. Then the 3D virtual model is created by the desktop scanner and software. Then the dental technician design and make a crown with CAD/CAM devices. Okay, computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing system. So in this flow, actual digital workflow start from this procedure, showing the yellow arrow. And in terms of the novel digital workflow, we take an impression using intraoral scanner, and send the digital data to the dental labo through the internet. And then dental technician makes a crown using CAD/CAM technologies or 3D printing, sometimes using 3D printing. For the novel digital workflow nowadays, the key device is intraoral scanner for taking an oral impression. The intraoral scanner is replacing with the conventional dental impression method. Maybe you know some silicone gum materials. The intraoral scanner is not yet the perfect device, not yet, but it has many advantages over the traditional method. So I will introduce the traditional impression method for better understanding of the advantages of novel intraoral scanner. So this picture shows how to take an impression of dentition and oral mucosa together for making the removable denture. Of course, this method can be also applied to the crown and bridges. So firstly, we choose the proper size of ready-made tray for the patient mouth. And then we dish the dental impression materials such as silicone materials like a gum and alginate materials on the tray and place it on the patient dentition like this picture. And the impression materials gradually cures, gradually hardens. So it's possible to record the morphology of the oral cavity like this picture. And then dental technician poured the dental plaster on the impression materials and fabricate the plaster model like this. And dental technician can produce some dental processes on the plaster model. So we normally use this kind of dental articulator to reproduce the occlusion and simulate the mandibular movement of the patient. Through this process, we can make tailor-made crown, tailor-made bridges, and tailor-made dentures for each patient. So this process is typical traditional method. But now, the impression method is replacing with the intraoral scanner. So I will explain the intraoral scanner. So intraoral scanner is a novel digital impression devices. So like this picture, the oral scanner is basically composed of the handheld camera and personal computer and the specific software. So normally intraoral scanner is called iOS. The purpose of the oral scanner, iOS, is to record the three-dimensional geometry of teeth, teeth arch, and mucosa. Let me show you the example movie of taking the impression of the prepared tooth by an oral scanner. This oral scanner is Primescan manufactured by Dentsply Sirona, which is currently one of the best oral scanners in the world. So as you can see, the scanning speed is very fast and the 3D images looks very accurate. Although it shows a good performance, this is not yet a perfect device. For example, clinically, so in order to get good impression, the margin of the prepared tooth it's very important to firmly prevent the moisture, to prevent the saliva from the object. So we need to check both oral cavity and monitor carefully. Okay, it's a novel intraoral scanner. So intraoral scanner is such an advanced medical device that is overcoming the disadvantages of the traditional impression method like this. So this picture shows the traditional impression. The traditional impression can sometimes cause momentary discomfort for the patient due to the inconvenience and hardship stemming from the impression materials. So iOS can reduce the patient discomfort during taking the impression. Also has many advantages. So not painful, prevent Bomix reflex, prevent accidental ingestion and aspiration of the materials, reduction of the mouth opening time. Easy to read additional impression, normal prostate cast model, it's very good SDGs, and simplified clinical procedure. And I will talk about the publication of the fixed processes like a crown and bridges. After taking the impression using the iOS, nowadays we make a crown by the CAD/CAM milling method, which is the most widely used digital method. So especially as in-house system, this select system, which is including iOS and the CAD/CAM system. And it's very popular in the world. Basically, all in-house system in the dental clinic are based on this set of this video for the twice as fast, sorry. And as for the 3D printing method, that is now developing and has still issues to be improved for the daily clinical applications. So we prefer the CAD/CAM milling system nowadays. Okay, so iOS impressions for the crown and bridges thought to be accurate based on many reports. On the other hand, iOS impression for the removable denture is actually still challenging. Okay, this picture is a typical example of the impression of oral mucosa area as shown before. And the latest systematic review about the iOS impression of removable denture reported the accuracy of iOS was comparable to the conventional techniques in recording bony tissues, which attached the mucosa like a hard palate, but it was not capable of accurately recording the movable soft tissues. So regarding this, I will explain where is the movable soft tissue for the removable denture. Again, this photo shows a typical full edentulous mouth conditions. I will explain the movable soft tissue area using lower jaw. So this area shows a not movable tissue attached to the bone. And this pink area shows a movable area and it's equal to the denture bearing area, okay? So this area can move during the oral function. Therefore, we need to take an impression of this pink area with various oral functions, during various oral functions, such as opening, closing mouth, and suction. And these are the traditional dental impression using alginate materials. So as I explained, such impression material gradually harden, and in the meantime, the movement of the patient's mouth can be marked. So during hardening the material, we can have the patient transform the mouth into various forms for impressing such dynamic shape. But actually, it's very difficult to get an impression of such part where the mucosa's membrane moves greatly. The intraoral scanner cannot get an accurate impression of such part at that time. And this illustration shows a cross-sectional image of this complete denture for the upper jaw. The blue line is the area of the mucosa tissue attached to bone. It's hard bone, hard area. And this red line is the area for soft tissue. That is the movable tissue area on the denture bearing area. So based on the current findings, the red area is difficult to take an impression by iOS for making the full denture, full complete denture. So we need to consider this typical limitation of the iOS impression for the removable denture. However, I'd like to introduce one specific case applying the iOS impression and 3D printer for producing the removable denture. So it's kind of trial case of all digital production of a complete denture. So I will introduce one case of all digital workflow for producing a complete denture immediately after teeth extraction. It's cutting edge procedure. So here is an initial oral condition of this patient. Please let me explain the diagnosis of this condition from the dentist view. Okay, you can see a poorly conditioned fixed processes in the entire oral cavity, and there are many traces of repairs on the processes. Also, oral hygiene is not so good. So you can see the patient have, maybe you can see severe periodontal disease. Okay? From this X-ray, you can see all upper teeth are hopeless. All upper teeth are hopeless. Actually, all upper teeth demonstrated severe mobility. Therefore, we need to think about the risk of unintended teeth removal by the impression materials with conventional method. In these cases, iOS intraoral scanner is very safe and useful. And in terms of lower jaw, you may be able to find unfavorable design of implant processes and also peri-implantitis. It's an infection that is bone reduction around the implant. But I'd like to focus only on the complete denture production for the upper jaw in this presentation due to the time constraints. Okay, this video shows the actual iOS impression of the upper jaw. As mentioned earlier, we need to worry about unintended tooth removal in the conventional impression method using some silicone materials. For using iOS, we don't need to worry about such unintended tooth extraction, tooth removal. And we can take an impression accurately, like this. And then the dentist or dental technician designed the immediate digital complete denture in the CAD software. Okay, this picture is the result of the iOS impression. This is STL file. Okay, first of all, the dental technician manually deleted the upper teeth object from this 3D model. They selected the margin line of the teeth neck area like this, and deleted this teeth object. Okay, they continued this work until all remaining teeth were deleted. As a result, all teeth were deleted from the model like these images. Then the residual ridge area was smoothed by the software function so that we created the assumed residual ridge after tooth extraction like this. And then the artificial teeth was set up on the residual ridge based on the original processes as a reference. So blue colored teeth are showing the original dentition. Then each tooth position was roughly modified according to the occlusal condition, and we improved the aesthetics and of the anterior teeth as well, like this. We modified from the original one. Okay, and then the dental technician decided the margin line of the denture, the denture base, according to the expected gingival-buccal fold. As I mentioned before, we need to consider the limitation of the iOS impression at this step. So that is the gingival-buccal fold. This area couldn't be accurately taken by the iOS impression. So we need to expect the denture base margin line like this. So in addition, the occlusal surface shape and the contact area, occlusal cusp position and the cusp inclination, many things were modified in detail at this step. We modified the tooth shape like this. Okay, and then we checked the teeth arch as simulated mandibular movement, like a lower jaw movement. Although the recording range is very small, we can record the mandibular movement by using the feature of the current novel intraoral scanner. After those steps, the gingival and the papilla shape, aesthetic shape are finally designed. Then we completed all the CAD process, computer-aided design processes. After completing the design on the software, we actually produced the denture. In this case, we used the Stroman Cares P-series for the 3D printer and free print denture for the denture materials. Here are some of the details of the feature of this 3D printer. This feature is typical use for the dental processes, okay? And the artificial teeth and denture base were produced separately and then combined together by the dental adhesive. And these pictures are the final form of digital denture. The quality is comparable to that made by the conventional method. I think it's very good, very good quality. However, the impression of palate area here, this area might not be taken well by the iOS intraoral scanner. Therefore, the form of palate area was needed to be partially estimated on the software. On the denture delivery day, firstly, all the upper teeth were extracted and sutured several parts like this. And the resulting residual ridge looks similar to the simulated artificial ridge in the software. I'm sorry for this photo. So in this case, the denture was fortunately fitted well on the upper jaw immediately after tooth extraction. And you can see the good denture stability during the mandibular movement. And you know, this denture is kind of treatment denture, so which is not the final one. So normally we need to repair the denture base by tissue conditioning materials in this case. Therefore, we think the quality of this denture produced by all digital process using intraoral scanner and 3D printing was enough for this kind of purpose. It's an example of the current all digital application for complete denture production. I think there are many points to be improved considering the future clinical application of such all digital production of the denture, especially if the artificial intelligence method, AI, can be applied to the process of denture design. The burden of the dentist and dental technician is greatly reduced. And from another point of view regarding the digital denture production, I'd like to talk about one possibility of digital denture production using computer-aided engineering. So why is CAE, computer-aided engineering, useful for the production of dental processes? Because the 3D printer and CAD/CAM system are suitable for realizing the computational simulation result. So we plan to firstly design the denture with computer simulation and then produce the denture according to the simulation. Today, I'd like to introduce one of our new challenges. The aim of this challenge is to produce the denture base with specific shape, which can prevent bone resorption. I will explain why I choose the topic of bone resorption. So indeed, based on the previous many research, so much factors are associated with the bone resorption under the denture base. This patient uses the denture here. So clinically, we can often see the case in which the bone resorption occurred due to the excessive force, excessive load, like this X-ray image, the load applied from these teeth. For this purpose, we first conducted biomechanical research to consider preventing force-related bone resorption under the denture base This is the main purpose. So some studies are investigating the force-related bone resorption under the denture base by using actual clinical outcomes. So this study investigating the jaw bone resorption under the denture base after the denture placement. The bone resorption under the denture base was evaluated by superimposing the STL files created from the CT images. So CT images were taken before wearing the denture and 1 and 2 years after denture placement. Okay, you can see this is a cross-sectional image here. You can see the bone resorption around the pink row here, red, yellow, green. You can see the bone resorption in these cross-sectional images, superimposed images. So basically, bone resorption starts on the cortical bone surface area, like this case. It's a typical bone resorption under the denture base. Then we performed the finite element analysis to consider the biomechanical aspect of such bone resorption. We created the 3D geometric model by segmenting these patient CT images. And then heterogeneous bone density distribution was reproduced based on the CT values, grayscale values like this color map. Also, nonlinear elastic properties of mucosa on the mandibular bone were prescribed in this model. By assembling them, we finally created the patient-specific 3D heterogeneous FEA model, finite element analysis model. Using this FEA, we investigated the strain distribution in the mandibular bone and also the pressure distribution in the mucosa. Okay, this chart shows the relationship between actual bone resorption and mucosa pressure from the 20 patients. Okay, the vertical line shows the amount of bone resorption detected from the CT superimposition as shown before. This is from the in vivo clinical outcome. And the horizontal line shows the mucosa pressure under the denture base measured by FEA. This is from the in silico simulation data. And you can see a significant positive relationship between both variables. For this project, we pick up one specific patient case for further investigate the force-induced bone resorption. So this figure shows the bone density distribution, bone density change for 1 year after the denture placement, based on the CT value from this specific patient. And this time we focused on the lower right molar area, this region, a large bone density decreasing area. This figure shows the superimposed CT images at this molar area before and 1 year after the denture base. You can see the bone resorption, which is indicated the white arrow, especially here, yellow circles. Also, this figure shows the result of FEA in the same cross-sectional plane. And you can see stress concentration around here. So interestingly, the actual bone resorption area, cortical bone area, didn't match with the stress concentration area. That means bone resorption site is not matched interosseous stress concentration area. Okay, this is one result. And on the other hand, we also investigated the relationship between the bone resorption and hydrostatic pressure in the mucosa. So hydrostatic pressure in the mucosa under the denture base can be investigated by FEA. And this result is showing the pressure distribution on the same cross-section images. We can see the bone resorption area obviously coincided with the hydrostatic pressure concentration area. So this result indicates the hydrostatic pressure concentration can be main cause of bone resorption under the denture base. Okay, this is one evidence. In this, so far, many in vivo and animal studies suggested the hydrostatic pressure can be the main cause of bone resorption under the denture base. Basically, the hydrostatic pressure concentration can cause impaired blood flow in the mucosa, resulting in the inflammatory reaction and impaired normal bone remodeling activity, which is causing osteoclastic bone resorption. Therefore, for clinical significance, it's important to prevent excessive pressure concentration in the mouth, in the mucosa, and also equalize or reduce the pressure as much as possible. So this time, as a new challenge for evenly distributing the mucosa pressure during the function, we tried to optimize the denture base shape using the biological data-based CA method, optimization method. For this optimization study, we employed also a specific patient as a subject. This patient was wearing a simple partial denture at this molar teeth missing area. From this patient CT data, a 3D finite element model of the half mandible with a partial denture was created. The model construction method is almost the same as the case before. And to reduce the complex calculation for computational optimization, we selected this simple denture case. And I will explain the target of this optimization. So this figure shows the denture base, mucosal surface. This is a denture, and this red dot area are denture base. Okay, this back of the denture. We set up this mucosal surface, this surface as the optimization target, which is indicated by this red colored dot area, design domain, okay? For the optimization process, this mucosal surface can be deformed three-dimensionally. We employed the modified bidirectional evolutionary shape optimization. Again, the purpose of this optimization is to design the denture base for evenly distributing the hydrostatic pressure, prevent the concentration of the hydrostatic pressure. This is an initial condition of the FEA. In the case of default denture shape, the concentration of the mucosa pressure was observed at the posterior side at this loading condition, loading condition of the allow. The distribution is considering the actual clinical situation. This distribution is reasonable. But here we need to carefully consider the reliability of this result, because this result can be easily affected by the FEA model itself, especially the mucosa properties. So therefore, we need to input mucosa properties that are unique to this patient. Okay, I will omit the detail of this method due to the time constraints. We actually measured the pressure on the mucosa under the denture base in this patient mouth by using this pressure measuring device, very thin pressure seat sensor. And by referring to this actual measured pressure, we calculated the assumed patient personal mucosal elasticity. As a result, we could prescribe the patient-specific mucosa property to this FEA in this study. So that is, we performed the FEA very accurately. Okay, for this optimization process, we calculated the mucosa pressure under this loading condition. The denture base shape was modified so that the mucosal pressure distribution became even as much as possible. And then we calculated the mucosal pressure again, and we continue this iteration. Please see this chart. You can see the maximum hydrostatic pressure was decreasing gradually during this iteration for optimization. So next, I will show you the imaging movie of this computational denture-based modification. On the right, this movie shows the process of this computational optimization. The left shows the pressure distribution at the default initial denture base. And you can see the pressure distribution became gradually even following the optimization process. So actually, this is the same with the clinical process of denture-based adjustment at the dental chair side. In other words, this optimization process is the same as the adjustment of adding or grinding the resin material of denture base at the dental chair side. After this optimization process, as a next step, we actually produce this optimized denture base by using a 3D printer. So firstly, we prepared the patient mandibular model by the 3D printer, and then both default and optimized denture shape of the denture base were created by the 3D printer. Then we performed the in vitro bench test using this universal testing machine to measure the pressure under the denture base, so that we try to validate the optimization process is correct or not. So this validation was just a pilot trial, so we just use simple pressure film evaluation. I will omit the result details, but we obtained almost the same pressure distribution status from the bench test with a computational optimization simulation result. And this color map shows a shape change of the denture mucosal surface during the optimization process. So in clinically, red part is resin adding, and the blue part is resin grinding. Quantitatively, both adjusting amount about 0.3 millimeter. So considering actual clinical situation, I think this result is very reasonable. Of course, many improvements are necessary for this procedure for considering the future application to the clinical dental practice. However, this biological data-based CA method can be a new concept for the next stage of digital dentistry. For example, in the future, we believe this method can be also applied to optimize the thickness and elasticity of the denture-based materials for considering the individual situation. So mucosal property is very different depending on the patient. So we can perform the tailor-made patient-specific treatment by using this CA method. Again, I'd like to show the workflow for producing the dental prosthesis. So recently, one of the desired future medical treatment is keyword is provision of personalized dental medicine. Okay, so we believe this CA method introduced in this presentation can be an effective solution for realizing the personal dental medicine. I think it's an essential role for the academic people and researchers to find more effective way to use digital devices such as 3D printer for realizing the future development of digital dentistry. I will briefly summarize the important points so far. As showing here, the flow for producing dental prostheses is of course the same as that of general industrial products. That is, once we design some object and the product is manufactured by 3D printer, one milling method. And okay. And this study showed that it's very important to apply an optimization process similar to some of the general, such as buildings and bridges and industrial products. And how to say so, considering car crash to design the car body. In other words, we dentists need to use some digital technologies more effectively, not only to reproduce the morphology, but also embody the force and biological reaction factors to the design. By doing so, the products will provide the patient with very good clinical outcomes, very good patient compatibility, the long-term stability, and I think we can prevent the bone resorption and functional rehabilitation. We can obtain the functional rehabilitation. And those will greatly contribute to the realization of future personalized medicine. Okay, this is the first topic of my presentation. So I'd like to change the topic. As a second topic, I'd like to talk about the digital workflow and dental platform for the maxillofacial reconstruction. This is another very important topic for the current digital dentistry, and it's now developing and very space for including some new specific devices, digital devices. So in terms of digital workflow and digital platform regarding the maxillofacial reconstruction, I'd like to introduce one fundamental research, that is biomechanical analysis of bone remodeling following mandibular reconstruction using fibula-free flap. I will explain later this treatment method in detail. And next, I will introduce an actual clinical practice regarding digital technologies for maxillofacial reconstruction with bone augmentation. Okay. Okay, first of all, please let me briefly explain what is maxillofacial reconstruction. So this case is a typical example of processes for a large defect of maxilla bone after removing the oral bone cancer. So when removing the cancer by the medical surgeon, it's necessary to remove the surrounding healthy tissues, including the healthy teeth, okay, like this picture. Maybe the cancer area is around here, but surgeon need to remove the surrounding healthy tissue. Therefore, we need to make a removable denture with a large denture base for overlapping the large defect area in the oral cavity. Also, I'd like to explain more about what is maxillofacial reconstruction. So next, please show this case. The oral condition looks good at a glance, but he has cell carcinoma in the mandibular left molar area. So this patient undertook the mandibular resection. Mandibular resection is very hard treatment, including the remaining teeth and bone. And these images, 3D images, show the scar condition after the surgery. So generally, not only oral cancer like this case, but also some atrophy, tumor ablation, trauma can be the reason for this kind of large bone resection. So in this case, after the resection, the titanium plate and grafted skin were used for the mandibular reconstruction like this. It's a grafted skin, and he has a titanium plate here inside the skin. And you can see asymmetrical facial configuration after the surgery. It can be helped in such kind of cases. But it improved after several months like this. Okay. It's kind of a typical maxillofacial reconstruction. For another way of the reconstruction, so we use the fibula vascularized bone grafting has become a well-established procedure for the mandibular reconstruction cases. This is another patient. So he has gingival cancer in the posterior area, posterior side of the lower left molars here. As shown in this photo, gingival cancer appears as white inflammatory findings in the oral cavity. Also, the localized black area in the X-ray image like this. After the mandibular resection of the left molar side, so surgeon resected from here to here. Maybe oral cancer is only here. The reconstructive surgery using fibula bone grafting was performed. In the previous case, this case, only the titanium plate was used. Okay. But you can see both grafted bone indicated the disallowed grafted bone and titanium plate were used for reconstruction. The face configuration has become asymmetrical, but it's unavoidable to some extent. This is the next layer images of the entire skull and also the 3D images constructed from the CT images. And you can see the grafted bone here, and the titanium plate. The morphology, this morphology of bone graft, both grafted bone and titanium plate is very important. This morphology, this configuration is very important to make the facial appearance as symmetrical as possible. And also, the bone union between grafted bone and native mandible is essential factor for the success of reconstructive treatment for future oral function, oral rehabilitation like chewing food. Okay, in this kind of mandibular reconstruction case, the typical donor site of bone graft is a fibula bone, this bone, fibula bone. Because fibula free flap can provide superior length and long vascular pedicle for reconstructing this kind of large resected mandible. And many medical case reports and researchers have suggested high reliability and adaptability of fibula bone grafting as most effective option. So clinically, firstly, the surgeon extracts this fibula bone here and cut the bone for the appropriate length and shape, and then graft the bone particle with vascular pedicles to the resection area of the mandible. This osteotomized surgical procedure is very important for favorable clinical outcomes such as good bone union, good facial configuration, and so on. Of course, the leg function is preserved. Of course, leg function is preserved. The patient can walk after the surgery anyway. Nevertheless, some clinical complications are reported, such as delayed or poor union between the grafted fibula bone and host native mandible. So some CT image evaluation studies reported 9 to 20% of non-union rates. As shown in these CT images, the mandibular bone consists of cortical bone. Mandibular bone basically consists of this cortical bone, which is white colored hard bone, and inside cancerous bone. It's some spongy bone. The union of, this is resection area here, and union, cortical bone union, okay? Cortical bone union is more important for the clinical outcome. In this case, the complete callus formation, cortical bone, is only on this side. That is cortical bone union. You can see non-union at this side. So cortical bone union determines the strength of the reconstructed foremandible, which is essential for the further functional rehabilitation. Unlike general bone fracture healing process, mandibular reconstruction with fibula bone may be affected by this kind of shape discrepancy and functional deformation between different bones. So therefore, it's essential to understand the biomechanics of bone healing and bone remodeling activity in this kind of reconstructed mandible. I will explain this point in this presentation. So we investigated the bone remodeling activity at the bone union, bone docking site, bone union site here, here, and here in reconstructed mandible using this specific case. This patient undertook the mandibular reconstruction with fibula-free bone due to the oral cancer here at the right molar gingiva. The fibula bone was segmented into two parts, this part and this part, to replace the defective jawbone shape. Also, a titanium fixation plate was attached with titanium screw in both bone. The plate was bent in advance by the surgeon before the surgery. So for investigating the time-dependent bone remodeling, bone change, especially bone change in this bone union, we used the CT image taken for the clinical follow-up. We took the CTs immediately after the reconstruction surgery, that is 0 months, and 4, 16, and 28 months after surgery for the follow-up. We use this CT data for investigating the bone remodeling. So this photo was taken during surgery. I apologize to those who are not good at photos during surgery. I'm sorry. And you can see the right side mandible was resected. This is a mandible resection site. And the grafted with a titanium plate here. This is a grafted bone. And this is an X-ray image of this patient. So yellow box shows the 3 bone docking sites. We defined docking site 1, docking site 2, docking site 3. You can see the very little space at each docking site between bones. A large shape discrepancy. Also, this is mandibular bone and fibula bone here. So large shape discrepancy at DS1, docking site 1, and docking site 3. This is the mandible and fibula bone. And docking site 3 between the original mandibular bone and the grafted mandibular bone. Docking site 2, only docking site 2 is both grafted fibula bone. In this research, we focused on the bone morphological change and bone remodeling at these 3 bone docking sites. And I will show firstly, result of the docking site 1, clinical outcome. For the first analysis, we evaluated the status of the cortical bone union, okay, cortical bone breaching in 3 docking sites. Okay, this slide shows the result of bone remodeling at docking site 1, the bone union between mandibular bone here and fibular bone. This is a cross-sectional image of the bone docking site. Okay, this shows the cross-sectional images at the bone docking site 1. You can see both mandible and fibular bone. And these images show the horizontal cross-sectional images of docking site 1 at each time point. Okay, 0 months, 4 months, 16 months, and 28 months. And this sectional image, this sectional place, bottom from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 millimeters, were determined as the height from this bottom to the vertical. Okay, and please see the bone change around 6 millimeters from the bottom. Okay, significant amount of callus bone formed at the 4 months after surgery. Bone is increasing here, and you can see the cortical breaching, cortical union successfully formed at 4 months, 16 months after surgery. Okay, this is a clinical result. In terms of docking site 2, we can observe the cortical bone union. Docking site 2 means both fibular bone. We can observe the cortical bone union at 4 months in both buccal and lingual side. Also, the cortical-like bone appears to fill the entire interface of the bone union. You can see the cortical bone union was observed relatively earlier than docking site 1. So in terms of docking site 3, there was a relatively initial large shape discrepancy between mandibular bone and fibular bone. This form is a mandibular bone and fibular bone, this docking site. However, both bone shapes gradually changed and cortical bone union was successfully formed. No cortical bone here, 0 months, but you can see the bone increasing and bone change gradually, and the cortical bone union was successfully obtained at the mandibular 16 months. We can see the dynamic bone increasing and decreasing at this docking site. That means the very active bone remodeling is occurring here. Bone is gradually changed and dynamics. Okay, I will summarize the result of clinical observation of bone union by CT images. This is important clinical outcome. Firstly, the timing of cortical bone union depends on the docking sites. So cortical bone unions were obtained earlier in the docking site 2 with the union of both fibular bone, the docking site 2. Compared to the docking site 1 and docking site 3 with the union of different bone. Also, no major change was observed from 16 months to 28 months at any of 3 docking sites. And the important finding here is the misalignment of both bone may inhibit the early cortical bone union. Okay. However, as another important finding, even if there is large misalignment, shape discrepancy of both bones, the cortical bone union was finally observed in the CT images taken at 16 months, which means the active bone remodeling is occurring and performed the cortical bone union. Okay. So based on this clinical outcome, next we constructed again this patient-specific 3D finite element model for the analysis by using these patient CT images. And also the titanium plate and fixation screws were also modeled and virtually inserted into the models. As the same as the earlier model, we created the heterogeneous bone density distribution based on the CT values. And like this figure, we applied 4 kinds of masticatory muscle force, such as masseter muscle here, and temporalis, and lateral and medial pterygoid muscles. It's main 4 important masticatory muscles. And hinge constraints were prescribed for the corresponding mandibular condyles. Also, we considered the functional loss of right side masseter muscles due to large bone dissection. Okay, we consider this functional loss. And this image shows the resulting mesh condition of this FEA. Okay. All right, before showing the result of FEA, we performed the 3D model registration for investigating the time-dependent bone morphological changes each docking site. So this image shows an example of the 3D registration, 3D superimposition of the docking site 1 between the 0 months model showing the red orange colored and the month 4 months model in the blue colored. So this part is titanium plate. So titanium fixation plate was selected as a reference geometry for accurate superimposition. So we compared the bone morphological changes in each docking site and each duration using this 3D model superimposition. I will show the result first. So here are the result of 3D superimposition at 3 docking site 1, docking site 2, and docking site 3 in each observational duration from 0 to 4 months and from 4 to 16 months and from 16 to 28 months respectively. And this illustration shows a bone formation as a red color and bone resorption, bone reduction as a blue color, and non-volumetric change area as orange color. So basically bone volumetric changes remarkably from 0 to 4 months and 4 to 16 months. The appearance of bone changes varied greatly from site to site. Also, basically, relatively a little bone change was observed after 16 months. You can see. And these are the results of 3 time-dependent bone morphological changes of the entire mandible. You can see the change are significant, especially from 0 months to the 16 months. I'd like to emphasize the dynamic change area, which means the bone resorption here and the bone formation were observed at the area indicated this allows. As a result, this is immediately after the bone grafting and 16 months after the bone grafting. As a result, bone healing and subsequent bone remodeling, you can see the bone docking site was strength, no gap here, and become smooth shape like this. Bone resorption here and bone formation here, and resulting the bone becomes smooth and strengthened. And this image shows the time-dependent change of strain energy density distribution on the bone surface. because the strain energy density has been considered an effective stimulus to predict the bone remodeling activation. And we can see the strain distribution significantly changes with time. 0 months, 4 months, 16 months, and 28 months. The distribution of bone strain energy density was changed. Both globally changed and locally also changed. And please show these illustrations. Upper illustration shows the strain energy density distribution at each docking site, and the lower shows the corresponding CT cross-sectional images at the same plane, same cross-sectional plane. The strain energy density distribution was correlated with the corresponding change of bone density detected from the CT images. So we further evaluated the relationship between both in vivo and in silico result quantitatively. So for analyzing the relationship between strain energy density distribution and bone density distribution by CT images. So we constructed the linear regression analysis like this chart. And R-square values presented the goodness of fit of both parameters, strain energy density and CT value changes. CT value change means bone density change in this study. And we can find strong dependence on both bone density and strain energy density only in the docking site 2. On docking site 2, every durations, significant correlations between strain energy density and bone mineral densities. So docking site 2, both fibula bones is a bone union with both grafted fibula bones, which is a little misalignment between bone union site. That's because we can obtain this result, we think. Okay, I will summarize the result. So we considered what is important for the earlier process of cortical bone union for the success of this kind of treatment. So in our study, so docking site 2, both fibula bones showed earlier cortical bone union. So we think the favorable bone contact condition, that is good alignment and a strong correlation between strain energy density, strain distribution, and bone density can contribute to an earlier process of cortical bone union. That means activate good bone remodeling analysis, what good bone remodeling activity. In terms of for the docking site 1 and docking site 3, here, significant misalignment of bone shape at bone union might delay the cortical bone union and generate non-physiological stress strain distribution, maybe. So we can suggest that favorable alignment of grafted bones can cause the good distribution of mechanical stimulation, producing the success of bone remodeling. This is one important suggestion of the future digital application, okay? So based on this finding, I'd like to talk about the possibility of future application of this biomechanical bone remodeling simulation. And this illustration shows the bone density distribution on the reconstructed mandible of this specific patient, okay? If we applied the functional dynamic loading in this FEA, we can predict the future bone density change based on the bone remodeling simulation. So this prediction of the time-dependent bone density change based on the bone remodeling simulation will enable a more effective bone grafting treatment planning before the treatment. For example, this prediction can be useful for the planning the timing of future prosthetic treatment, such as timing of denture, partial denture insertion, or planning or dental implant placement, considering the bone remodeling, bone emphasizing the bone strength, or bone prevents the bone fracture. We can think about the future change, predict the future change of the bone, grafted bone, or the bone union. For another example of the application of this bone remodeling simulation, we are now working on developing a new type of titanium fixation plate, because reconstructive surgery may be sometimes performed with titanium plate only, as shown before, especially in the patients who have some difficulties in bone grafting surgery due to some general disease and general conditions. In such cases, although it's rare, we experience a fracture of the titanium plate, like this X-ray image. So now we perform the extended finite element analysis, XFEM, on the titanium plate to investigate the situation of occurring fracture, considering some clinical situation, clinical loading situation. And we also developed such devices for bench tests and examined how the force transmitted to the plate affect the fracture. So this bench test result is essential for validating the FEA simulation result. Okay. So based on those research, we are now working on developing a new titanium plate that not only prevents fracture, but also can promote bone remodeling activity. To achieve this project, shape and topology optimization processes, engineering methods are required. Computer-aided engineering methods are required. My research engineering collaborators are now working on this project, optimizing the shape and hardness of the titanium plate, or the position and number of fixation screws. Okay. In addition, in terms of titanium plate, it's no doubt that 3D printer are the most effective devices which can realize this computational optimization result. This optimized titanium plate, new titanium plate, is greatly contributing the favorable treatment outcome. That's very important for the not only patient, but also our dentist. Okay. So in the future, we may be able to realize the optimal dental implant optimal dental implant treatment, on the reconstructed mandible, based on the consideration of favorable bone remodeling, as shown in this illustration. This illustration is a typical treatment option of using the dental implant on the mandibular bone, not only the mandibular bone, but also the grafted bone. Okay, a patient can bite using these dental processes. However, we worried about the fracture of the bone here, and here by using this type of processes. So we can determine by this bone remodeling simulation, we can determine the optimal place of the implant, preventing fracture of the plate, and also the promoting bone healing and bone remodeling. We are now trying to optimize the titanium plate design and optimize occlusion with dental implant by using some computational simulation. So this combination of optimization of bone remodeling and 3D printing method is essential for the developing of this future treatment method. This is very beneficial to enhance the quality of life of the patients. Okay. As a next topic, last topic, I'd like to demonstrate the actual digital application for mandibular reconstruction treatment. I will introduce the actual clinical application. I will introduce the novel method using computational simulation and 3D printers for supporting mandibular reconstruction surgery, actual surgery. The title is Clinical Application of Digital Technology for Maxillofacial Rehabilitation with Bone Augmentation. Okay. Okay, this flow diagram summarizes the digital workflow and digital platform of maxillofacial reconstruction. As the same with other dental processes, nowadays, digital technologies are utilized in every process, such as diagnosis, and treatment planning and design. Okay, some imaging methods such as 3D digitizer, CT, cone beam CT, MRI can be used for the digitizing process of the patient. And CA application and data preservation are typical advantages of current digital platform. And we use several data processing software for treatment planning and manufacturing the prosthetic devices by milling and 3D printing method. And maxillofacial reconstruction surgery and treatment are basically very difficult, and have a complex procedure. Therefore, the digital workflow and digital platform are very useful for simplifying and being systematic the maxillofacial reconstruction treatment. As I mentioned before, in terms of success of mandibular reconstruction surgery, okay, for the success, favorable alignment of grafted bones can cause the good distribution of mechanical stimulation, producing the success of bone remodeling, success of bone union. So this time I will show the example of effective digital application for performing accurate alignment reconstruction surgery. Okay. Okay, change the background black to the black. For mandibular reconstruction, as I mentioned, for fibula-free flaps have many advantages, such as flexibility of reconstruction, no needs of posture change during surgery. That is very important point for the surgeons, clinical surgeons, and less invasive surgery for the reconstruction of mandibular defect. However, to achieve the appropriate shape and contact condition of grafted bone, the surgeon needs to perform fibula osteotomy modeling and fixation accurately and quickly during operation, because shorter time operation is more reducing the burden of the patient, and also earlier curing. Also, they need to restore the proper occlusion. Intermaxillary relation means occlusion. It's very important. Actually, there are still clinical issues. So to improve this process, digital technologies and devices are very effective. So far, we constructed the system for fabricating maxillofacial models and surgical templates using digital simulation. I will introduce our developed those digital solutions. Okay, I'd like to roughly explain the three-step our developed novel method. The first step was to convert the CT DICOM data into the STL files. In the second step, a 3D digital simulation was performed to determine the optimal resection margin for both mandible and fibular bones. And the third step, each data was modeled using a 3D printer. We created the simulated post-operative mandibular model, and then a surgical template was produced for fibular bone segmentation. And finally, we bent a titanium fixation plate and prepared a resin tray for alignment of fibular bones and titanium plate in accurate position during surgery. The items on the right side on the screen, these items are work for which the dental technicians should prepare. Then I will introduce each items, okay? So first of all, metallic artifact of CT images were deleted, okay, firstly, and performed the 3D image processing. So dentists and medical doctors then determine the resection area of the mandible for completely removing the cancer or some traumas, including some healthy tissues. And then simulate the alignment of a fibular segment like these images. Sometimes we fold the 2-part or 3-part of the fibular bone. And we considered the symmetrical configuration of the mandible, referring to these specific parts: the mandibular condyle, mandibular angle, and chin nodule, which is marked C, A, and T, as shown in these figures. This symmetry and configuration is very important for the functional rehabilitation by the occlusion, good occlusion, or the shape configuration of the facial line. According to those reference points, we align the fibular bone, obtaining a favorable facial appearance after surgery. And in addition, we considered the dental arch and occlusion so that patient can bite in a good position after surgery. Such careful considerations should contribute a favorable treatment outcome. And depending on the resection size and the area, the fibular bone might be folded into few parts to make the symmetrical configuration of the mandible. In the left figure case, the fibular bone was folded into 2 parts, 2 pieces for the one defect area. And a larger defect, the fibular bone was folded into 1, 2, 3. 3 parts. Sorry for, it's difficult to see that for 3 parts, 3 pieces for the reproducing the mandibular form. As you can tell, the larger number of folding places, the more difficult to manage the fibular bone surgery. Anyway, after the simulation of the fibular bone grafting, in the CAD software, we make a predictive post-operative 3D model by 3D printers. Actually, we have two types of 3D printers in our labo, dental labo. Please see the left side here. This type is curing the resin with light and performing the modeling. It's called photocross-linkable resin. A liquid resin is stretched on the bottom and metal plate is pressed against the resin with shining light. Anyway, maybe you know. And then stack it one more layer like a millfield. It can demonstrate high precision and reliability, relatively high durability. Also, the device itself is expensive device here. Another is 3D printer on the right side is green. This type is system to melt a solid resin once with heat, then extrude it into a thin thread and layer to form a model. As a future, the adhesion between layers relatively weak, and its created model is not precise, but it's not expensive. Okay. Considering the characteristic of both type, 3D printer for the cross-linkable resin is selected for producing this mandibular reconstruction post-operative simulation model. This is because the post-operative mandibular 3D simulation models and some templates actually used during the surgery should be highly accurate. Okay, accuracy is very important. It's very important for the success of the surgery. This is an example pre-operative simulation model and resulting 3D model by the 3D printer. We use this model for the preparing some devices before the surgery. In the next step, we will make the surgical templates for the accurate resection of the mandibular and fibular bones. These are the mandibular templates for resecting here, this one and this one. Mandibular template for resecting the mandibular bone accurately as planned. Another one, this one is the fibular bone template for resecting the fibular bone accurately as well. These surgical templates are actually used during the surgery to resect the mandibular bone and fibular bone accurately according to the pre-operative simulation. Okay, as mentioned earlier, accurate contact condition at bone docking site, bone contact site can contribute the quick bone healing and good bone remodeling, earlier cortical bone union. That's why this accurate template is very important. For the mandibular template, we normally prepare one template for one resection area. In this case, two templates are prepared here and here, okay? Based on the pre-operative simulation, we designed the templates on the software and produced them with a 3D printer, of course. You can also see a certain space between bone and template because there are some attached soft tissue such as skin, mucosa, muscle, and so on. Sorry, this I apologize those who don't like this photo. These are actual photos during the operation. Sorry, I apologize to those who are not good at it. The green frame part is position of the mandibular plate. Indeed, it's important to minimize the template size as much as possible because we need to avoid disturbing the surgeon's performance, actual performance. The surgeon resects the mandibular bone according to the templates, okay? And you can see the mandibular, resected mandible. The photo below shows the actual resected mandible. Compared to with the pre-operative simulation images, you can see the surgeon can actually accurately resect the mandible as planned. We realized the usefulness of this template to perform the accurate surgery as planned. We already realized. So next, I will explain how to use fibular template. The lower left image, this image is the actual modeled fibular template. Similar to the mandibular template, a certain space should be provided for attached soft tissue, skin, and mucosa. And then I will show a photo during the surgery. The lower right is removed vascularized fibula free flap. Since fibular bone are normally removed, including the surrounding soft tissue, it's necessary to open the area widely for the space of attached tissues. In addition, since the amount of deposits such as periosteum is larger than that of mandible, the amount of spaces should be provided for the template. So based on those clinical issues, we need to design the surgical template carefully with deep collaboration, deep conversation with medical doctors, between dental technicians, medical doctors, and dentists. I hope I'd like engineer to include this conversation and discussion for more effective solution for this kind of surgery. And we need to arrange the fibular templates depending on the number of folding pieces and angles. Like this illustration, the case of 3-piece holding is more complex and difficult for alignment compared to the case of 2-piece folding. The larger number of folding places, the accuracy is required at every bone contact area. So we need to carefully design and produce the templates for smooth and quick surgical procedure. And we need to prepare the titanium fixation plate to support the grafted bone. Therefore, we need to prepare the alignment tray, this tray here, this pink area, alignment tray for accurate placement of extractive fibular bones and titanium plate to the mandible. This tray is also used during surgery. So we manufacture a saucer type tray by resin materials for placing a shaped mandible, fibular bone, and titanium plate like this. Of course, the titanium plate has been bent in advance according to the simulated post-operative 3D mandibular model like this photo. We bent this titanium photo using this model before the surgery. Okay. And this tray is very useful for performing accurate surgery and also enables to reduce the surgeon's burden and operation time. Many digital technologies, such as those presented in this presentation, can help to perform such complex surgery and quickly and accurately. This is because the shorter the surgery time, the smaller the burden on the patient and better the subsequent bone healing, good treatment. And we actually evaluated the effectiveness of our developed digital method on the clinical outcome, especially the symmetrical configuration of the post-operative mandible. We confirmed that our developed method and also team approach, including the dentist, medical doctors, and the dental technician, could achieve positive effect in such complex mandibular reconstruction treatment. I'd like to show the evaluated effectiveness of our method compared to the previous method as a preliminary pilot study. Okay, 3 typical patients who undertook the mandibular reconstruction using fibula-free flap at Tohoku University Hospital were evaluated for this pilot study. So this table shows the patient's data. The 3 patients with squamous cell carcinoma of the mandibular posterior region were listed in this study. For 3 patients, we planned the mandibular segmented surgery and reconstruction using fibula-free flap using our developed method at Tohoku University Hospital. And we performed the mandibular resection surgery, and we evaluated the accuracy of our digital simulation method. As for the research, we evaluated the accuracy of mandibular reconstruction using CT data taken before and after surgery. The distance between the both lateral condyle, illustrated as C to point C to point C, were measured on the CAD software 3 times and compared this length between C and C before and after surgery. And these are the result of distance between both condyles before and after surgery. We compared our result with those from previous similar studies, which use just a traditional computer-assisted surgery. And we can say that our developed method, VSS method, demonstrated better outcome compared to the traditional method regarding the facial morphology. These pictures show the change in intraoral condition before the surgery and after surgery of the specific patient using our developed method. This picture was taken before the surgery, and you can see the redness and swelling of the mucosa around the right molar area from the dentist view. And this was taken after the surgery, and you can see the grafted skin and grafted tissues in the place, and spaces for the prosthesis devices is secured enough. Therefore, a removable partial denture was fitted for the future prosthetic treatment, fitted property, and the patient can use it for the daily life for biting. And symmetrical configuration is also important for the prosthetic, such kind of prosthetic treatment. Of course, some patients would like to undertake the dental implant treatment. In such cases, we may need to think about the additional bone augmentation here at the reconstructed site. Anyway. Okay, so we summarize this clinical digital application method in maxillofacial reconstruction. So despite a limited number of the patients, the mean C to C dimensional differences before and after surgery are small. That means our developed method is superior to the previous traditional method. In addition, little change in maxillomandibular relationship, that means occlusal condition after surgery, were observed by clinical examination of our patient developed method. These results suggested our developed method can provide optimal result. The method including some novel digital technologies. So I think multidisciplinary management of reconstruction, including surgical planning, treatment, and functional rehabilitation, is effective for the patient who undergo mandibular section, segmental resection. Including this, 3D printing with computational simulation plays an important, very important role in the maxillofacial reconstruction surgery. Please remember this. Again, this scheme summarizes the digital workflow. Again, as mentioned in today's presentation, digital technologies are taking an essential role in maxillofacial reconstruction treatment, especially role of computer-aided engineering became very important, I think. Of course, manufacturing devices such as milling and 3D printers are very useful today and expected more developing. However, those devices are used for just reproducing the designed processes in the computational software. More important in this digital workflow is design optimization, based on the consideration of clinical outcome. In other words, we need to think about how to use more effective digital devices and think about how to achieve them. In dentistry, the process of optimizing the design of the product using CAE is important in future treatments. okay, this is the last slide, and I'd like to summarize my lecture. So 3D printer, milling system, such devices to make dental prostheses we use now. So currently, excellent devices are being developed, one after another. The key evolution is the accuracy, precision, and truthness of the processes, dental processes. Key to evolution is accuracy. More accuracy is required. And we need to consider more effective way to use 3D printers to maximize the characteristics of digital technologies. 3D printers can be useful not only for morphological reproduction, but also for embodying a computer simulated optimized design, considering oral function, considering long-term good change of the oral condition, including bone remodeling. This presentation demonstrated the example of an effective 3D printer application using the clinical outcome and CA-based bone change, bone remodeling prediction. Okay. In such case, team approach, including medical doctor, dentist, dental technician, and we hope engineers, is very important to consider the effective application of digital devices. And this digitized platform enables multidisciplinary collaboration. Okay. Thank you very much for your kind attention for my long presentation. Okay, any questions? That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nobuhira Yoda, for such an insightful and informative session. Also, to Dr. Biswajit Mukherjee for chairing the session. It is amazing to see such advancement in technology that not only brings smile to the patient, quite literally, but also aids doctors who dedicate their life for our well-being. Now we have a couple of questions from our audience. Question number 1.
Yep.
How can designers contribute to the advancements in dental prosthetics?
Yeah, it's a very nice question. So normally we consider some morphological feature of the dental processes, such as when we design the dental crown or dental dentures, removable dentures, we normally consider some such as occlusion and anatomical feature. But I'd like to include some functional factors, such as, I think very important is force magnitude, force direction. Okay, so we need to consider this crown, which kind of force, which magnitude force are applying to the dental processes. Because dentists sometimes experience the fracture of the crown, fracture of the denture, and chipping of the ceramics. So we need to consider about the force factors first, and we need to also consider how we can include some force factor into the design. It's still the challenging topics, but I think it's very nice point. Can I answer the questions?
Yes, there's one more question. What advice would you give to young designers interested in digital dentistry?
That's nice questions also. So I'd like you young engineering to consider how to embody this, how to use the effective way of the 3D printer. So at the moment, currently, we cannot use the 3D printer effectively because 3D printer is very useful, but most of the dentists use the CAD/CAM system, milling system. So I'd like the young engineering to think about the effective way of the clinical use of 3D printer. The key point is accuracy, precision, and truthness of the dental processes. Sorry, please.
Yes, sir, there's one more question. What challenges did you face while adopting the technologies of digital dentistry?
Yes, it's also nice questions. So we always face the difficulties because it takes a long time and it's burden of the engineers. Because, so for example, so when we try to apply the finite element analysis to the daily clinical patient, it takes a long time and it's very working, additional working for the dental technicians to make a model and work on the analysis on the workstations. So I think so. Artificial intelligence is a key factor to simplify the digital engineering procedures. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the artificial intelligence, so I hope the young engineers in India so use some artificial intelligence method to such design of the dental processes. Its key factor is, I think, artificial intelligence.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for a valuable insight. So I wholeheartedly thank the eminent speakers, chairs, and guests of the day for their generous contributions and the audience for the patient participation. With this session, the second day of DEW 8.0 has now come to an end.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the first session of the third day and the final day of DEW 8.0. And you can join us on the same link. Thank you and stay safe.